I was born in Lawrence, Kansas, which is a university town. It's a very multicultural town, very liberal town, progressive. And there was actually a huge Native community there as well, because we had the University of Kansas and Haskell Indian Nations University, which is where my dad went. And so I was always aware of other Natives being in the community, and also always surrounded by artists. My dad's an artist. He makes jewelry. He started out as a construction worker during the day and then would make jewelry at night, and eventually became, a full-fledged working artist. And so from the first memories I can remember, I've always been building. I've always been constructing things. When he worked on construction sites, he would bring back the scrap wood for my brother and I to hammer together and to, build different things. I remember wandering into his studio when the counter that he worked on was kind of like at my eye level and kind of trying to grab things all the time. And so he would give us pieces of copper or brass to hammer out or to do stamp work in when we were young. And so I've always been around an artist. It's always been just part of what is for me. It's never been a separate thing. And so I grew up going to art markets, to Native American art markets specifically, and really, being immersed and being surrounded by people that did a multitude of crafts and media. And it's really interesting because in addition to that kind of Native art world, my dad had the wherewithal as a single father to take my brother and I to museums. And so I remember going to the Spencer Art Museum when I was really young. I remember going to the other museums in Kansas City and seeing contemporary art. And there are images that I remember seeing and sculptures that I remember seeing where, as I grew up, I'm like, oh, that's who that was, and so it's been really eye-opening to kind of have grown up like being a visitor to those museums and now recognizing artists that show in those museums or that, actually meet those artists in different ways. And so, and actually my first piece that was collected by a museum was by the Spencer Art Museum. And so that was very special. So I've always been surrounded by it. And it's funny because I always made things, but it wasn't kind of some statement that I made that said, yes, I am an artist. Because in our family, we were all artists, and that's just, we were born into that.